Good afternoon, Robert Scribbler. It is October 16th, 2018. Thank you for joining me for another climate change and clean energy video blog. Now, for this segment, I'm going to talk about yet more evidence showing what many of us already know, that yes, the President of the United States is a moron. Trump recently noted that he is not sure that climate change is man-made. Trump apparently has ignored the scientific evidence showing that hurricanes like Florence are being amplified by factors related to human-caused climate change and are increasingly taking large chunks out of the U.S. The recent most extreme hit coming from Michael, which has ripped numerous communities apart from the Gulf Coast on up through the Carolinas, and was amplified by much warmer than normal sea surface temperatures in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. One thing that climate change does do, yes, it warms ocean temperatures, which have an impact on hurricane intensity. Overall, there are numerous factors related to human-caused climate change that are making the situation worse for both human beings and wildlife, ranging from ocean fisheries to coral reefs to Arctic sea ice to polar bears to farmers in Australia to those presently living in Europe, which is suffering an extreme heat wave at this time of year, to various other communities, including island communities around the world that are facing inundation from rising seas, but not just island communities. Places like Miami, which is facing an increasingly shortened lifespan as a city due to rising oceans, due to, you guessed it, climate change, human-caused climate change, that thing that Trump apparently is unsure about. Well, since Trump is unsure, I'd just like to point out some of the statements from scientific organizations about climate change. I'd like to call your attention to the World Meteorological Organization, which notes that changes in climate variability and extremes are driven by human-induced climate change and are some of the key challenges facing humanity. This coming from the science, not from a politician in the pocket of fossil fuel special interests. In addition, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that nonpartisan scientific body that is tasked with keeping track of global climate change, notes that scientific evidence for warming of the climate system is unequivocal. Something tells me that Trump might perhaps need a dictionary to look up the meaning of the term unequivocal, but it's pretty basic. It means that there is really no challenge to the finding that the climate system is warming and that it is caused by humans. And as NASA notes, most of these climate changes are attributed to fossil fuel burning and related human activity, particularly since the late 19th century. Now, NASA also notes that, or provides a tracking site called Vital Signs of the Planet that provides climate change fingerprints and impacts, noting that atmospheric carbon dioxide has increased to 409 parts per million, up from around 275 parts per million during the 19th century. Carbon dioxide is a major heat-trapping gas in the Earth system, and paleoclimate science shows that every time that carbon dioxide concentrations rise in the atmosphere, the Earth system warms. And we know, according to science, by isotopic fingerprinting, that the primary driver of carbon dioxide increase in the Earth's atmosphere is fossil fuel burning, because we can tell that carbon dioxide from fossil fuels has a certain isotopic fingerprint. Now, it's worth noting that human carbon dioxide emissions are more than 100 times that of other natural sources like volcanoes, which might potentially be providing this carbon pulse to the atmosphere, but they're not. What's causing it is the burning of things like oil, gas, and coal primarily. Now, since that time, since atmospheric carbon dioxide has increased, the Earth's temperature has risen by about 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit since 1880. Yet another indicator that humans are warming the globe. Arctic sea ice minimum is falling by about 13% per decade, yet another indicator of human-caused climate change, and the ice sheets are losing about 413 billion, yeah, that's billion with a capital B, tons per year. So when you see this statement, these ridiculous politicized statements by Republicans primarily, that they're not sure on climate change, that we're not sure that humans are causing climate change, that's bunk. We're sure. Humans are causing climate change. It's being driven by fossil fuel burning. And the reason why Trump and many Republicans are denying that this is the case is because this is an inconvenient truth for their political constituents, primarily oil, gas, and coal. Thank you for joining me, and I'll be chatting with you soon.